Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce our pop-up poet. We stopped saying mystery poet because we thought people should be able to invite who they want, you know? And I'm really excited that Gracie Pressley is here, and I'll read her bio. Gracie Pressley is returning to the poetry scene after graduating from the University of Houston in 2023, where she earned a degree in psychology and double minored in biology and creative writing. She can most often be found through her work with Public Poetry, writing their monthly newsletters, and attending their monthly reading series. Her creative work tends to center around themes of identity, religion, and emotional distance. Welcome, Gracie Pressley.
Hi, everyone. I would thank Imprint for inviting us here, first of all. Thank you so much for having the longest running Houston poetry reading. That's really impressive. Okay, I'm going to squeeze 4 poems here. One of them is fairly short. The first one is called 2 Gulls in a Parking Lot. The line is cliche. I tell you that not because there's no compassion for a deer in headlights, but why is the deer me sitting on the hood of your father's car while you lean in to kiss me? While there, I'll look at your won't get a haircut until your first book gets published undercut and recall when you told me you had a sex addiction and wonder, is this the only man who will ever find me attractive? Then I remember I'm supposed to be listening. But if I look at you, you will kiss me. So I spot 2 gulls in the car's reflection and interrupt you to ask, why are there gulls and why only 2? Then you keep speaking. Am I a gull or am I a deer? Will you hit me and I'll roll across the hood and shatter your daddy's windshield and you'll have to tell him how you totaled his car? Or will I have flown to California and you will have texted and called, circling over 20 times, while I, still at the airport, will listen to you descend into a panic that culminates in a final gasping, I loved you. I always wonder about including this one. This is a poem I wrote in college. I think it was my sophomore year, so I think that's 4 years ago now, which is really frightening. But it's always stuck with me, and every time I read it, I make it even grosser than the last time I read it. So every word, in 10 years from now, it's going to be the grossest poem you've ever heard. And it's called How to Make a Man Stop Loving Me. Of eyes and their gaze and profess and lick and spit, of feeling sick and getting sick, of weekend guests and wine and out to dine, of wick and candlestick and making plans and rain and checks, ignoring your phone texts, of broken lids and shards of peach preserve, of drinking sour apple juice, of what's underneath and why do you care, of the end and ego and greater ego and teeth and tongue and tip and to pretend. I do not want you. I do not need you. Please, let me be free of you. This is a real short poem, but it's called On My Sister's 1 Year in Remission, My Family. We didn't dance. We didn't sing. We didn't throw a party. We didn't do anything, really. We didn't discuss. We didn't share. We didn't watch the news. We didn't throw a ball. We didn't soak the sun. We didn't cherish the moment. We didn't do anything, really. We didn't climb higher. We didn't hold deeper. We didn't love longer. We didn't recite. We didn't recollect. We didn't change. We didn't do anything, really. We sat, we ate, we prayed. I did look at my sister while I was reading that, and that was a mistake. I did almost cry. Okay, this is my last poem, and this is pretty brand new, and I'm so excited to read it. This is my first time I'm reading it out loud, and I think it's actually about my grandmother, who is alive. But you're going to learn very quickly in this poem, the reality is not always what exists in poetry. This is called Holding Hands with My Grandmother. My grandmother's hands are smooth, so smooth as she holds my arm. We're driving down a construction-laden road. This won't be done for 3 years, I tell her. She holds my hand and says, I love you so much. You are my sweetest granddaughter. In the restaurant, she spills tea on the sleeve of her cardigan. I cuff the fabric to her elbows. The day's soup is tomato. I tell her she would like that. How are hers the hands that beat my mother? Once my mother asked me what she should say at Grandma's funeral. We were on the porch watching egrets fly low over lake water. Do I say, you demeaned me, you beat me, I hate myself because of you? I told her she has siblings. Let someone else speak. We're going to a movie next, I say as I pay for the check. It's hard to describe the joy on my grandmother's face, but she leaps in her seat. I've got to put more lipstick on. I hesitate to say it's a kid's movie, so I tell her it's animated. She has forgotten what this means. She will die in mid-June. I will never remember the exact date. My mother and I will talk on the phone, light platitudes about beige boxes and heavy nightstands. I will not ask her how she's doing. She will talk, and I will write a poem in my mind, smooth, so smooth. I will write these lines distracted by my mother's voice. As we walk into the theater, I cannot let her go or she will fall. She gets dizzy when she walks. I know this is because she does not walk enough. She says, I've gotten old. I tell her it's just 6 more steps. My mother will not speak at her mother's funeral. Instead, I will. I will speak of hands. Smooth, so smooth were the hands of my grandmother. Guys, thank you so much for being present with me during that. As a reminder, we do have Public Poetry has a reading first Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. And I am normally there, but I will be Christmas shopping. So please go there in my stead and tell me how amazing it is. We will have the 2025 to 2026 Youth Houston Poet Laureate there. So I genuinely think it will be such an amazing event, and I would love for you to attend. And if you haven't gotten a raffle ticket, it's completely free. So please come get a raffle ticket. We would literally love to get you involved with public poetry. Thank you so much.
So I'm really excited about our featured poet and about Gracie being here tonight. He's one of the faces behind public poetry, and I added to his little bio, I said he is known for his warm personality and his dapper sense of style, and for making everyone feel welcome at the events he hosts. So we want to make him feel welcome as well. So here's his bio. And I found out how to pronounce his name. Võ Đức Quang, pronounced Võ Đức Quang, is a bilingual poet whose poems have appeared in various online publications commissioned for the 2022 Real Poetry International Film Festival and the 2025 exhibition Space for Us, Afrofuturism and the Poetic Imagination by Houston Poet Laureate Eris Kian. He is director of the Houston nonprofit Public Poetry and can be found on Instagram at Võ Đức Quang with more information on his website. And so that's Linktree Võ Đức Quang. So we're so happy to have him, and we don't always have hosts, and hosts don't always get to read, because they're always hosting. So it's extra special that he's here. Welcome, Quang.
Yay!
Thank you. I think my
What do you look? Your drink?
no.
Your notepad.
Yeah, no, my portfolio, which was right here.
Who stole Quang?
If not, I have to do this entire thing from memory. No, I stole my own. Well, salutations, everyone. Let me just put my public poetry directorship aside for a moment. My sincerest appreciation, of course, to Kellyanne and the other caretakers of the venerable First Friday reading series for having me and Gracie here. The series has hosted so many accomplished poets and nurtured so many others for 50 years. And so I don't think it's hyperbolic to say I feel like we've made it in Houston's poetry scene by being here. And thank you to all of you for permitting me to inflict my poetry upon you. But I will instead begin with a ballad by my mentor and friend, the poet Dana Gioia, who recommended in his very famous and controversial 1990 essay, Can Poetry Matter? When poets give public readings, they should spend part of the time reciting others' works. So I am going to honor him by sharing Summer Storm by Dana Gioia from his collection Interrogations at Noon. We stood on the rented patio while the party went on inside. You knew the groom from college. I was a friend of the bride. We hugged the brown sandstone wall behind us to keep our dress clothes dry and watch the sudden summer storm floodlit against the sky. The rain was like a waterfall of brilliant beaded light, cool and silent as the storm hid from the night. To my surprise, you took my arm, a gesture you didn't explain, and we spoke in whispers as if we too might imitate the rain. Then suddenly the storm receded as swiftly as it came. The door behind us opened up. The hostess called your name. I watched you merge into the group, aloof and yet polite. We didn't speak another word except to say goodnight. Why does that evening's memory return with this night's storm? A party 20 years ago, its disappointments warm. There are so many might-have-beens, what-ifs that won't stay buried. Other cities, other jobs, strangers we might have married. And memory insists on pining for places it never went, as if life would be happier just by being different. Thank you. That was Dana Gioia's A Summer Storm. And I guess on to my own scribblings. The first poem is a lyric poem I wrote during my collegiate days while at a Monet exhibition at the HMFA. Some of the terms you'll hear are from the Catholic monastic hour of prayer, like diurnal and prime and matins. So this is Caprice in black. Caprice in black. Perhaps we'll never ride the heaps of hipsterdom halfway under a worn-out moon 12 zodiacs high. Perhaps I'll never translate the foreign you into goodbyes. Diurnal prime, you trailed the crowded gallery like a curious comet, or the softest notes of Claire de Lune in a dress darker than a habit. I was afraid to disturb the matins kept in your eyes. Cicada brute shy, we hovered, exchanging embryonic glances, first taught when earth rose from the sea, and like short-lived summer dragonflies, we languished close without seeing, sharing an awestruck sigh, as though listening to Monet bear his thoughts. That poem really embodied a meme I saw a few weeks ago that said, "Don't get too close, I'll turn you into poetry." So, the following poems are from a much larger work called Vietnamese in Blue, which as Kellyanne mentioned, was commissioned by the 2023-2025 Houston Poet Laureate and a dear friend, Eris Keon, for her exhibition, A Space for Us. I'm grateful to Eris because I had been musing on this poem for a decade, but I lacked the poetic ability to bring my love for sonic resonance and lyricism, the various literary tradition from Chinese poetry and Vietnamese folk stories to scripture, high liturgical art, and just the daily, everyday. One tiny note, we're all going to learn a bit of Vietnamese. One tiny note, you'll hear the word am. Am, I think it's one of the most beautiful words in Vietnamese. Emma. It's a Vietnamese term of endearment. It's equivalent to addressing a lover as dear or darling. So this is just an abridged version of Vietnamese in Blue. Vietnamese in Blue. Vietnamese in Blue. For my mother and father, part 1. And I'm glad you're here, Tamara, because let's see if you can hear the liturgical language. What bright Sunday began in lullaby, clothe me celestial in time, delta green and monsoon floods, then raise my angel wrestled hands under Saigon's tin rust roofs, mornings babbling by my mother's side, pigeon notes perched on power lines. I, priest and warrior, scaling wonder with the high-rise sun above the pink-chipped condominium, like ancestral spirits whose incense coursed throughout the keepsake house. Night, by the chirping radio, the kilohertz ballads my father played over the green waves, soundtracks of my carefree principality, scented eucalyptus sleep. Suddenly, up came my eyelids on another year, and waking, I mistook morning for relief, not knowing which plane or flock of cranes transported me from Pacific to the Gulf. Yet whenever I close my eyes, I see my childhood in porous monochrome. But when my eyes are open to receive, the bayou colors mingle to form a home. This is part 3 of Vietnamese in Blue. Am I foreign, or is the past foreign to my reach? Each morning I cross this city by way of water, clouds, and sky. You crossed life once enough for me. Emma, I love you vast enough as I-10's lanes to run the barricades down Bellway 8, where down Bel Air, where my adolescence rolled like waves. Look, the shuttered nightclubs my father played, the couples drowned in bolero beats, pink nights in Saigon's memories. I do not know the Kodak-colored flags, only the lingering hurt in storied eyes. Weekdays in school, I pledge allegiance to the flag, and on weekends, lip sync to a republic which no longer stands. And we've lost much, much except each other, except the lozenge words we savor to soothe our throats. And I tell you, being Vietnamese is more than food, than bread, than drink alone, but in the tones and rhythms I press against your lips. Summer in your springtime rain, color me step by endless step. Scented jasmine blossom, you are my summer by the Gulf. This is part 4, because of course the commission is about Houston. When I confuse the stars for romance, I unmask them like protests on 59, down the red and yellow capillaries flowing into neighborhoods. The bridge lights Neptune at twilight blue, the train horn soundtrack across the town, an erratic dash after each thunderstorm, more home than Huế, Saigon, Hanoi. Let my home be bathed in light, diverse and gradient as the lifted hopes, until false idols topple into forgiving earth. Let the fruit and work of human hands be as elegant as a manicurist's craft, back twisted and aching at closing time, painting nails bright and humane as my tired brothers on the metro train, or my sisters selling flowers on the streets. And if one day the coastal waters break our lives against the rocks, let them wash our mothering city free of hate, leave us compassionate siblings as after the freeze and flood. And should the highways collapse and gravity give us back to space, I will grip onto you with one hand in an H-Mart shopping cart, in the other enjoying those floating from a fallen world. What flood waters could not submerge, what heat could not exhaust, is love of city and people, of your hand cradled in mine, in the embrace of the lasso loop. Thank you. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I mentioned I didn't like the term self-love, and he said, well, reframe it as being your own companion, date yourself. And I said, oh no, I'm not really my own type. But over the summer, June and July of this year, I confidently confided to several friends who are here, Natalie, Gracie, etc., etc. I'm done writing sad love poems. I think those days are over. As a matter of fact, I was so happy I thought I'd put away writing poetry in general. Well, here's a sad poem I wrote last month. And it comes with an epigraph from one of my favorite Vietnamese poem, A Winter Season. The first and second day apart, unable to pillow this sadness with you. Refrain. It is Sunday, and maybe you'll stay like the lilac dolphins beside the Bolivar ferry. I wish to take you where the waves cling to the sky, beyond checkpoints. East of a narrow road, the horizon and sea are two seagulls caught in flight. Instead, we wrecked against the troubled stories encrusted to our jagged families, when the route could be easier, better, or best. An unsure step forward, a not quite step back to each other, but too late. The distance is greater than last night's anger, which passed like a storm. To lose before being found, then shrug off the pain in time for work. Only years from now, calling each other stranger than stars' breath, strained to extinction. Rather, let's stop. Rest your ache on my shoulder long enough to watch the sunlight dance through the grief frozen beneath the icy waters, and wonder how the body bends but will not break. After I wrote that poem, I showed it to some friends, and including Gracie, and I said, Gracie, I think I took the seagulls from your poem, to which she kindly responded, there are enough seagulls to go around. The next poem here I've read before. As previously narrated, I had a written correspondence with a young lady for about a year, and of course, the romantic as I am, I enclosed a poem I had been working on, and she wrote back saying, I enjoyed your poem. You know, it was nice. It was nice to let your words shape my mouth, and I thought that was the best compliment I've ever received. It was nice to let your words shape my mouth. So when I was in the Ozarks sitting beneath some trees, I thought of immortalizing that line. Shape your mouth with my poem. Shape your mouth with my poem. My words coiled on your tongue and broken from your lips, the summit of our touch. Shape your mouth with my name, Emma. I lost my country years ago, but kept the word for home. Line my pocket longings, my ba and ma whispered on their wedding night. I gift them to you in slow, slow drops, and pray you Genesis steadfast in years to understand seasons from now that love like water, even more than loss, cuts deep into the hardest stone. Can you believe that was nearly 20 minutes? Before my last poem, I would like to once again thank Kellyanne and the other caretakers, and of course mention that tomorrow public poetry will be at Steinley Blue Ridge, Missouri City, and we are delighted to host the 10th Houston Youth Poet Laureate, among with other talents. We have our anthology for sale. Many of the contributors are seated, talented contributors are seated in this room, so I'm very happy about that. And finally, since it's the end of the year, I would be remiss to mention, if you enjoy the work that public poetry does in the community, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation, and you can find that on our website. Just Google public poetry and you'll see. More information can be found at the table. So, about 3 years ago, after I had written Narrow Slender Up the Bluebonnet Way about a walk downtown, my friend Natalie said, you know, you write poems about Montrose and downtown everywhere except where we grew up, where we live, which is A-Leaf, the Swat. And I realized she was right. Now I keep writing about A-Leaf. But so I had this idea for an imaginative ballad about the Lunar New Year, because obviously the Lunar New Year is not a holiday in the US, so everyone goes to work. Except Chinese restaurants or Vietnamese restaurants. They closed the one time. So this is a poem based on various observations and compilations of personal experience about A-Leaf Chinatown, the international district. So I began my reading with a pensive ballad, and I'm going to break tradition by ending with a happy ballad. I carry you through Chinatown. I carry you through Chinatown on Lunar New Year's Eve. Softly the karaoke bars die as hostess girls fly to their nests, and soju buddies stumble in a line back to their sports cars, exhausted, red and blue. But I carry you, a K-pop song, sweet, not loud or long. We sit outside Morai Cafe, eating breeze-chopped beignets. Last share tea run, the barista asked, hey, what would you like? And playfully, I gave your name, my you, my only you. And though we should be at temple picking flower buds or praying inside a church, we're cruising down the southwest streets more lit than fireworks. Thank you.